each other through it. Come on and see, good movement draws good movement.
Welcome to Good Movement Draws Good Movement, the podcast where farmers, ranchers, and rural folks can grow relationally through awareness, understanding, and effective communication. Hey, it's T. I'm your host, and I, along with my guests, will be covering topics related to drawing good movement. Things like self and social awareness, brain science, positive psychology, extending grace, and so much more. We'll share tools that can help you understand why you are the way you are, why others are the way they are, and how you can use that to step out of self-told lies with grace and compassion to draw good movement in conversations, relationships, and life in rural America. Let's go draw good movement. Welcome back to the Good Movement Draws Good Movement podcast. I've heard from a lot of folks lately who say, I know I shouldn't be mad, but ... Or I really should be grateful, but I'm kind of pissed off about it. And then they share something that, in my mind, would make any human feel angry. And every time I think, who told us that anger was wrong? Who told us that anger was bad? Who told us that anger is something to feel guilty about? And don't get me wrong, I used to be and still am sometimes one of those people who feels bad when I feel anger. I feel like I should be grateful and not angry. And the truth is, you can feel both grateful and angry at the same time. Anyway, if you haven't guessed it already, today we are talking about anger, not the explosive kind of rage that chooses violence, burns bridges, etc., but the kind of anger that gets buried because we were taught to be nice, be grateful, be tough, respect our elders, and how that buried anger doesn't just disappear. It sticks with us, it builds, and then it seeps out in some very unflattering ways. So first of all, let's define what anger really is. Anger is information. It has no moral value. It's not a moral failing. Anger is simply a signal that something feels unfair, unsafe, or out of alignment. It's our body saying, hey, something needs to change. So like bringing this back to stockmanship, when we are in a herd of cattle, they tell us when our pressure is wrong, and they will show us in different ways that the pressure is wrong. And our bodies are very similar. Our bodies are trying to tell us through the emotion of anger that the pressure is wrong. Anger is just a signal that there's too much pressure somewhere. So I want to take a little sidebar here because a lot of times we feel or we say, I feel guilty for feeling angry. I don't know why I feel angry. I should be grateful. Okay, I want to talk about the guilty part of that. And I want to point out that what we're actually feeling when we say guilt is not guilt. Guilt says, I did something bad. And again, anger is not bad. Whereas shame, what we're actually feeling there, says, I am bad. We feel like bad humans when we feel angry. So you might feel guilty for raising your voice with your kids. That's about your behavior. But if you feel bad just for feeling angry in the first place, that's shame. And shame tells us we shouldn't even have the emotion. Shame is really good at disconnecting us from ourselves and others, while guilt, which remember is about the behavior, can motivate repair. So, in the example of raising your voice with your kids was the behavior. You can feel guilt and go back and say, I am sorry for raising my voice with you. Whereas shame says, you are a bad human. See the difference there? And when we say we feel guilt for feeling anger, that is actually not guilt. It is shame. Okay, moving on. In our rural ranching, farming communities, in our culture, anger often got modeled as aggression and not healthy aggression. Getting yelled at in the sword alley by your dad or your granddad for letting the wrong animal in, or you didn't fix that fence right. I'm sure you don't need me to give you examples. If you've experienced it, you're already thinking of the examples. But what that did was taught us how to avoid anger altogether. Maybe we witnessed it being used, like I said, to intimidate or control. So we decided we'd never let ourselves get that mad. Or maybe, especially for us women, we were taught that anger made us too much, or B word rhymes with itch, starts with B. But I want to remind you of what Gabor Mate, I love Gabor Mate's work. You know, if you've listened to this podcast for any amount of time, I binged, consumed everything he wrote. And he says suppressing anger can literally make us sick because it's tied to our authenticity and our life force. So, suppressing anger, not super good. When we shove it down, it doesn't go away. It turns into resentment, anxiety, physical symptoms in our body, illness, etc. Unspoken anger shows up in sarcasm, avoidance, irritability with people we love, people who don't deserve it. And we all know that when pressure builds up, like in a hydraulic line, for example, something's gonna blow. And the same goes for us. So this idea that we shouldn't express anger is actually not that healthy, or that we should feel shame around expressing anger or feeling anger. Not that healthy. Healthy anger says that's not okay. And then it points us toward a boundary or an action that we can take. It might sound like, I'm not okay with how this conversation went. Can we revisit it? Or time out. I need some space before we talk about this. Or no, thank you. I don't want to do this thing. Healthy anger is like using the right amount of pressure to move the cow. It's not too much. It's not too little. And the goal is not domination. It's direction. Anger activates energy. It's energizing for us. When we stay present with our anger instead of either exploding in rage or shutting it down, but for the sake of today's topic, we're more talking about shutting it down. When we can stay present with it and actually feel it, anger can become a source of clarity and action. Let me say that again. Anger can become a source of clarity and action. Our anger informs us of where the pressure is wrong, where a boundary has been crossed, and we can use that information for clarity and take action in setting the boundary or removing ourselves from the pressure. So here are some practical tools for how to work with anger. The first thing is to pause and name it. This is not an uncommon tool. If you've been listening to this podcast for any length of time, we talk regularly about pausing and naming things. So pause and name your anger. Say, I'm feeling angry out loud or in your head. It doesn't have to be out loud. You can just say it in your head. Just saying it, naming it, acknowledging it, that alone lowers our reactivity. And then we can get curious. What boundary feels crossed? What value feels violated? Then you can move your body. Again, anger is energizing and it needs somewhere to go. So you can walk it out. You can clean the horse barn. You can chop wood. You can throw pillows on the ground. You can clench your fists and unclench them. You can scream, but move your body. And by moving your body, you move that anger through. And doing that provides that clarity to take action. Which brings me to communication after regulation. So you don't have to draft your speech in the midst of all the anger that you're feeling. You can wait until you've had a chance to pause and name it, get curious, move it through your body, and then communicate. Because again, naming it, getting curious, moving your body, that's all going to help you get the clarity from the anger. You're going to be able to see what the anger is trying to communicate to you. To wrap this up in a nice little bow, anger is not bad. It is a compass. It points us toward where something is off in our relationships, our work, our own hearts. The work isn't to get rid of anger. It's to listen to what it is telling us and move forward with that knowledge. Good movement draws good movement, even when the movement starts from anger. And when handled well, anger can lead to clearer boundaries, stronger relationships, and just a whole lot more connection in general, because we're showing up as our authentic selves, using our anger as information. We're not feeling shame over it. We are just showing up authentically, feeling our anger and using it for the purpose with which it was given to us. And with that, until next time, draw good movement. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm so grateful for you. If you found value in this episode, I'd love for you to share with others who might also benefit from tuning in. Share by word of mouth, send it in a text, take a screenshot and post it on social media, or share however you prefer. And if you haven't already, hit the follow or subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Until next time, draw good movement.